So this is the first flight of the day with the Goblin 380, but I will kind of finish off my last thought on the micro helis. I would say that I add one more con to it, and what that is sometimes is that because they're so small, it's difficult to work with them sometimes, or work on them. So if you have trouble working with tiny pieces, that's going to be a challenge with a micro heli. So here we are at the next kind of heli size up, in my opinion, because you can go 230 and 300, but those are still kind of micro. Here we have, like I said, a 380, and we have a 380 size heli. If all of you have flown this a micro, this is significantly bigger, and sorry, I'm just focused on flying here a bit. So these are much more stable, obviously. That was a little messy.
20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1.
Alright guys, this is flight number 2, the Goblin 380. I apologize for that last video. I didn't do any talking because I got the flying and I just wanted to kind of focus on that. So I don't know, where was I with the pros and cons? You know, like I think I already said, as you go up in size with the bigger helis, they just become more stable. I think the best way to describe it, if I didn't already say it in the last video, is that the bigger the heli that you get, when people say they're more stable, it almost feels like the maneuvers, if all you're used to is flying a micro, it almost feels like it's moving in slow motion. It's almost like turning the realism down to, you know, a lower percentage than 100%. And that's what I feel every time I move up in size from, you know, one size heli to another. So I think it's worthwhile to note that, and it's what really makes it feel like they're much easier to fly. Now that's not to say that you can't lose control, and it, you know, once it can get away from you, and it can get away pretty quick, but you know, you really do have recovery time. And a lot of people will say with the 700s, because of the large disc size, they're so what they call floaty, and this kind of almost makes it, you know, really forgiving. Anyways, I wish I had prepared a little bit more and had a little bit more for you guys with regards to, you know, pros and cons. But if you listen to the pros and cons I use for the micro helis, then, you know, you can almost tell what the differences would be once you start to move up in size. You know, I was talking about being able to transport them, and obviously the bigger the heli, the more challenging it can be to transport. If you've never seen a 7 size heli, you really need to kind of see one to kind of appreciate how difficult it can be if you're not prepared for that size to transport them, especially if you start transporting more than just one, you know. And then the costs are, if you're not sure what kind of costs you're looking at, I talked about the micro helis being that, you know, your most crashes will probably cost you around $10, $15, $20. At the top end, at the most, maybe $40, $50. With this, with the 380 size that you know, like this Goblin 380, you're probably looking at probably more around the $50 range, and at most about $100-150 for, like, you know, some of the more costly parts or electronics. And then with the 500, I remember I crashed that once last year when I started learning how to do inverted, and that cost me about $500 to fix. That was a pretty bad crash. So with the 500, you're looking at between maybe 100, 150 on the low end to as much as $500, like I said, $500 to fix, $500-600. And then with the 700, you're looking at, I mean, on the low end, probably $400 or $500, and you're looking at upwards of, especially if you're talking about electronics, but you're looking at around $1,000, $1,500 to fix, you know, and this is all things being equal, being that, you know, if there's similar crashes you were to have with these different size helis. So for most people, it's the cost that's preventative for people to get into the bigger helis. But if you can, like, it's they're amazing, you know, they really are. Ton of fun. I'll talk about one more thing when I get into flying the 500.